In 2018, Brightline became America's first private higher-speed rail company, and since then, the railroad has been providing fast and comfortable service between Miami and West Palm Beach, Florida. Today, for American High-Speed Rail Week 2, I'll be discussing Brightline, America's first privatized high-speed rail. Brightline is a relatively new intercity rail service in eastern Florida running along the Florida East Coast Railway between Miami Central Station and West Palm Beach. Since its inception in 2018, Brightline has operated hourly and bi-hourly trains in each direction and between 12 and 16 round trips every day between the two current terminals. Chapter 1. Background. Unlike almost every other passenger railroad in North America, Brightline has always been privately funded, receiving funding from Fortress Investment Group rather than the government like Amtrak does. When Brightline began operating in 2018, its goal was not only to provide a convenient and fast mode of transportation, but also to create a more modern and comfortable experience, unlike Amtrak where trains and stations are pretty bare bones and designed more for function than anything else. Brightline stations are beautiful public spaces, often featuring modern interiors with trendy restaurants, shopping, and among all else, the smell of fresh Florida citrus, which apparently is what all Brightline stations smell like. These welcoming environments continue onto the trains, which were all built rather recently. Train interiors feature large airplane-style seats, ample legroom, large screens displaying information such as time and the next stops, and those pretty blue LED lights lining the ceiling. Now that we're talking about the cars, let's get more specific in talking about the train sets and their specs. Brightline's trains are sets of 4 Siemens Venture cars with a Siemens Charger locomotive on each end. The first order of train sets was placed in 2014, with 5 trains being delivered between 2016 and 2017, although 5 more train sets are set to be delivered through the end of 2022. These venture cars are quickly becoming very popular due to their attractive interiors and proven reliability, and after Brightline's cars proved to be among the best in the industry, orders were placed by the California Department of Transportation, Amtrak Midwest, Via Rail, and in 2021, Amtrak announced that they would be ordering a $7 billion fleet of venture cars to replace their aging Amfleet cars. Similarly, Brightline's locomotives are also considered to be state-of-the-art, being manufactured by Siemens at the same time as the venture cars. These locomotives are classified as SCB-40s, and they're basically just modified versions of Amtrak's SC-44 Charger locomotives, featuring 400 less horsepower, a streamlined front end, and other minor changes. The Chargers use a Cummins QSK95 turbo diesel V16, and if you know anything about trucks, you would know that Cummins makes some of the most dependable diesel engines in the world, so these locomotives are quite reliable. These locomotives have a top speed of 125 miles per hour while achieving Tier 4 emissions, the best possible diesel emissions rating for locomotives currently. Additionally, they run on renewable biodiesel fuel, so they're just about as environmentally friendly as a locomotive can get. Basically, it's safe to say that Brightline's trains are state-of-the-art, and I might say they're some of the best looking trains in America. These trains currently operate between Miami and West Palm Beach, reaching a top speed of 79 miles per hour, which allows them to travel the 70 miles between the two terminals in 1 hour and 12 minutes, which is marginally faster than driving, but a lot more comfortable obviously. Anyways, now that we know about Brightline's current operation, let's go to Fort Lauderdale to see these trains in action. Chapter 2. Up Close and Personal. Here we are in Fort Lauderdale, just south of Brightline Station here, and as you can see, the line is quite scenic, featuring views of the New River and some other nice surroundings such as the downtown area seen here in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale, a quickly growing modern city, is one of America's first to feature modern trains, and look, here's one now, heading north from Miami, coasting across the New River Bridge. Not long after, a train passes heading south, as trains run almost hourly down here, even on weekends. This is southbound bright green train crossing over the river. Chapter 3. The Future. Since Brightline's inception in 2012, back when the project was still called All Aboard Florida, the goal was not just to have a 79-mile-per-hour intercity rail line between Miami and West Palm Beach, but rather to have a higher-speed rail system to connect many of Florida's main cities. Even before Brightline began service on the east coast of Florida, a plan was in place for the next phase of expansion, that being the Orlando extension. This expansion would have trains continue north from West Palm Beach on the Florida East Coast Freight Line, eventually diverging onto an all-new high-speed line in Cocoa being built from scratch along the State Route 528 right-of-way. One of the most common criticisms of Brightline is that it's not truly a high-speed line because in its current state it only reaches a top speed of 79 miles per hour. But what many don't realize is that when this Orlando extension is completed, trains will run at 110 miles per hour between West Palm Beach and Cocoa and 125 miles per hour on the grade-separated high-speed line between Cocoa and Orlando, allowing for trains to travel between Miami and Orlando in about 3 hours. Now, where in Orlando would this line terminate? Well, in 2015, Brightline decided that since Orlando is one of the most sprawling cities in America with major theme parks outside the city limits, there's not really good downtown area that would allow for easy access to these attractions. This meant that Brightline's Orlando station would be located at the Orlando International Airport, which just so happened to be building a new terminal with space for a train station. This new station was constructed next to the new South Terminal complex, allowing for passengers to easily get off a plane, take the APM to the South Terminal, and connect to a Brightline train. Since then, construction has been ongoing at the new terminal, but the train station has basically been fully constructed. Let's check it out. Chapter 4. Exploring Orlando Station. In order to get to the station, we're going to have to take the new APM or Automated People Mover from Terminal A to the new terminal. This new APM connects Terminal A to the South Terminal, connecting with the old trams to the existing terminals. Anyways, as we approach the South Terminal on board the APM, we can see concrete tied tracks leading up to the station. These tracks come right down from Route 528 where the grade separated line is, and they snake down through the airport, passing under the taxiway a couple of times. Soon enough, our APM arrives in the South Terminal, and from there, most people getting off go to the employee parking lot, while I'm the only one who goes into the train terminal. After going up the escalator, I'm greeted by an empty yet clean modern terminal which will soon be used by hundreds of passengers every day. The high ceilings and large open spaces really do make this look like a modern rail terminal, despite the fact that no trains run here yet. Speaking of where trains will run, let's take a look out the large windows where we can see where the elevated tracks lead to. Here we are looking south where you can see that signals are already in place in addition to the platforms. From here, trains will be able to run to the new maintenance facility just south of the station, which will serve as Brightline's main shops for repairing trains. Now, let's check out the street level entrance to the station, where in the future people will be able to connect to ride-sharing services in addition to Brightline Plus, a fleet of Tesla Model Ys that can drive passengers to their final destination. Now for one more look at the interior of the station. As of right now, it's still quite bare, but it should be fully furnished by the time service begins at this station in 2023. Now that we've seen much of the interior part of the station, let's take another look at the platforms. Unfortunately, as of right now, the platforms are closed to pedestrians because obviously no trains are running here right now. But that doesn't mean that we can't get a good view of them. Here are the future Brightline platforms as seen from the APM platforms, where you can see that there are high-level platforms but no tracks in place yet. This means that as of right now, the only tracks going through the station are the 2 going through the middle platforms, but soon there will be 4 tracks here. After this, I took the APM back to the main terminal, and from the APM you can see the tracks leading to the high-speed line east of the airport. This new Orlando extension, along with the station, will be completed later this year, with service beginning in early 2023. Additionally, there are a lot more projects going on in Florida, such as the rest of the line. Preparations for the line west of Orlando are ongoing, with a plan to run trains along Florida State Route 417 between Orlando Airport and Disney Springs Station by 2026. An intermediate station at the Meadow Woods Sunrail Station is also planned. West of Disney Springs, there's no projected completion date, but trains will run in the Interstate 4 right-of-way between Disney Springs and Tampa's Ybor City, with an intermediate stop in Lakeland. In addition to this major extension to Tampa, stations are also currently under construction on the existing line in Boca Raton and Aventura, with those stations planned to open in 2023, around the same time as the Orlando extension. Finally, there are a couple more stations planned between Orlando and West Palm Beach, although that construction has not begun yet. Basically, right now, Brightline is busy completing the all-new line between Cocoa and Orlando, while at the same time double-tracking the existing line between West Palm Beach and Cocoa. Chapter 5. The Future Continued. Now that we've talked about Brightline's biggest projects, such as its Orlando extension, let's talk about other smaller projects that are in progress. The first one that I feel is worth mentioning is Brightline's proposed commuter service that they want to start running. In 2020, Brightline announced its intentions to start operating a commuter service between Miami Central and Aventura, providing additional service for passengers during rush hour. This proposed service was quickly called Northeast Corridor Service, not to be confused with Amtrak's Northeast Corridor between Boston and Washington, D.C. This new service is proposed to begin as early as 2024, operating between Miami Central and Aventura, with intermediate stops at Wynwood, Miami's Design District, El Portal, North Miami, and FIU's Biscayne Bay campus. Again, this project is just in planning right now, so information is quite limited. In addition to this Brightline ran commuter rail, Tri-Rail, the existing commuter rail in the Miami area, plans to use the same line as Brightline as well. Their current line is almost identical to that of Brightline's, running between Miami International Airport and just north of West Palm Beach, essentially following the same route as Brightline, just slightly inland. Over the years, Tri-Rail has expressed interest in using the Florida East Coast Railway line though, as using that line would allow Tri-Rail to offer service to downtown Miami, downtown Fort Lauderdale, and many more communities. This project is making good progress right now, with the first phase allowing for some Tri-Rail trains to use Brightline's Miami Central station beginning later this year. Tri-Rail plans to eventually run trains all the way between Miami Central and West Palm Beach, sharing the line with Brightline at some point. But that's still far off in the future, so just having Tri-Rail trains at Miami Central is all we will see in the near future. Finally, the last miscellaneous project going on between Miami and West Palm Beach is what has been called the Broward Commuter Rail. In late 2021, another commuter rail service has been proposed between Aventura and Deerfield Beach. This project has the least amount of information of these three, and all we know right now is that service can begin as early as 2028, but an operator nor funding source has been identified at this point. Other than that, there aren't many other major projects going on in Florida aside from smaller things like track improvements and a few other new stations. But in addition to Florida, Brightline is working on creating a 200-mile-per-hour high-speed rail route between Los Angeles and Las Vegas known as Brightline West. As of right now, planning continues, but construction is planned to begin in 2023. So basically, as soon as Brightline is done with the Orlando extension, it'll be shifting its focus to the electrified line out west, which is set to begin service in 2026 or 2027. Chapter 6. The Trains. Now that we've talked about the line and the future of it, let's talk about Brightline's trains and what they'll look like in the future. As I said before, right now Brightline operates 5 Siemens Venture train sets with 2 SCB-40 Charger locomotives and 4 cars each. For the Orlando extension, Brightline ordered 5 more trains and a spare locomotive, so by the time the Orlando line opens, Brightline will have a total of 10 train sets and 1 spare locomotive, making for a total of 40 cars and 21 locomotives. Since the original design of all of Brightline's stations, the railroad has planned to operate 10-car trains, hence why the current 4-car trains look so small on Brightline's long platforms. So in the future, Brightline will most likely order even more cars, allowing for them to expand trains to 10 cars each. Other than that, all their train sets are pretty new, so obviously no replacement for them is planned yet. But as I talked about a few minutes ago, Brightline's new commuter service between Miami and Aventura might use new commuter-oriented trains. But as of right now, we don't know what exactly these trains will look like. They could just be the regular Brightline trains we see now. Additionally, the Brightline West line will use Siemens Velaro train sets, although no order has been placed, as construction on the actual line itself hasn't even started yet. An order will probably be placed sometime around 2024. Chapter 7. Conclusion. After visiting this line myself and even sneaking into the yet-to-be-opened Orlando station, I've come to the conclusion that Brightline sure knows how to run a railroad, and even though right now it only goes 79 miles per hour, and just under a year from now, Brightline will routinely run trains up to 125 miles per hour on an all-new high-speed line, all while doing it comfortably and affordably. With all that's happening with Brightline, and especially with how they've already acquired another new high-speed rail project out west, it's pretty clear that Brightline intends to build an American high-speed rail empire, and it's looking like they'll be doing it in an efficient manner too, as being a private company, there are much fewer bureaucratic hurdles to overcome. Perhaps a few decades in the future, you may find yourself riding on a high-speed Brightline train in your city, and that's very exciting to me. This has been an episode of American High Speed Rail Week 2, presented by WorldwideRailfan. If you're watching this when it's new, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, but if you're watching this after it's been uploaded, then click on the end cards to see the previous and preceding videos of this series. Additionally, if you want to see more content like this in the future, do consider subscribing, as these videos take a lot of work to make, and your support is always appreciated. With that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon in another episode.